Coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. Happy Saturday, everybody. We have made it to the weekend. It's really been just a glorious week of weather for Vancouverites. I'm obviously more towards the west end of the lower mainland, but it has been not a cloud in the sky for the past 4 or so days. Been enjoying these late nights so you can get out, throw the football around, play golf until 9:30. You can actually book out like a 5 o'clock tee time and get through 18 holes. It has been unbelievable. Happy weekend to all of you. We start off, as we always do, with the Vancouver Sports Spotlight. And today, the spotlight is going straight on to Aatu Raty, who scored again yesterday and now has a point in all five of Finland's wins at the World Championships. Finland is a perfect 5-0 so far. Now, they have beaten Germany, Hungary, the USA, Latvia, and Great Britain. So, not exactly a murderer's row of teams by any means, but Finland has been absolutely rolling. They obviously don't have many of their NHL players whatsoever, but the ones they do have, most notably Ratu, have been performing at a very high level. Ratu has been one of the most consistent offensive producers on maybe the best team in the entire tournament. Again, they're 5-0. I understand that the Swiss have just killed absolutely everybody. Their games have not been relatively close so far, but Team Finland absolutely has a chance to take this thing home. And a big reason behind it is the fact that Aatu Raty is consistently generating offense for his team. Again, not against the greatest of opponents, fully understand that, but in the context with which he's playing, and that's the rules that we have to play by. If Celebrini played really good at the World Championships, or Stenberg's playing really good at the World Championships, and Vigo Bjork, like, this is looked at as a very high accomplishment. So for an NHL prospect, adjacent kind of player who's trying to get full-time minutes, this should matter a little bit. So because Ratu had been performing so well at the World Championships, I decided to look a little bit closer into Ratu and really his season as a whole for the Vancouver Canucks. And as I started to do so, his advanced numbers and general analytics really are way better than I anticipated they would be. Now, he always passed my eye test as far as a guy who's just unbelievably hardworking on forechecks, which I think is really the number one proponent of success in a bottom six forward in the NHL. But his Corsi percentage, his expected goals for percentage were both in the top 15 on the Canucks. This is really impressive, again, considering his line mates for the entire year and his place in the depth chart, which we'll get into a little bit later. His relative Corsi for percentage was at a 1.2, so he was actually above average on the team when it came to his ability to generate chances for his lines. According to Hockey Stat Cards, his defense was actually pretty freaking good. His defensive rating is really, really high for someone, again, with his stature in the league. We have to look at this all relatively, considering, again, the minutes he played and the roles that he is expected to play, and, well, the terrible team that he played on. And I don't know how I didn't know this, if I'm being honest. If you saw my tweet earlier this morning, I found out a couple of things this morning. One, that California rolls have very strong origins in Vancouver. I'm embarrassed and ashamed to say I did not know that until about 3 hours ago. I am a proud California roll guy. It is the only sushi roll that I will eat in droves. I'll take a couple, spicy salmon rolls, and what's the other one? Dynamite rolls, like, but nothing compares to just two California rolls and some calamari. But besides the point, I also learned that Aatu Raty, by far and away, like, not even close, led the Canucks in faceoff percentage this year, which again is such an important thing for a bottom six centerman slash depth piece to do. Those face-off wins might seem minuscule in the grand picture, but when you become a micro kind of team in the playoffs or pushing for a playoff spot, it's so important to have the right guy in the faceoff dot to take those draws in the offensive or the defensive zone. It determines who gets possession first. And I understand that hockey has more bounce back and forth in terms of possession than really any other sport, but having the puck matters. And Aatu Raty was one of the best in the entire league at getting the puck to his team off the draw. He was he took the second most faceoffs on the team, and he was the leader in win percentage by nearly 10% over David Kampf. I think it was 8.1% he was in the lead by. He won 60.5% of his faceoffs this year. That ranked fifth out of all NHLers who took at least 500 faceoffs in 2025-26. So, with all of that in mind, again, with his analytics being better than I expected, him passing my eye test, and with big part of your bottom six centerman being winning faceoffs, it raised the question for me, why wasn't he more of an upside story for the Canucks this year? And then I remembered, oh, wait, Adam Foote's his coach. He could not get out of that doghouse really the entire season. It got to the point where in mid-December, Ratu actually had the lead on the Canucks in even strength points. He had a really, really good start to the year. And like I said, his defense didn't waver and his faceoffs were still really, really good. Despite that, he was a healthy scratch 14 times down the stretch of the season. Most of those reps because they wanted to get David Kampf in the lineup. Now, I've been very, very clear about my feelings about David Kampf. I think he's a low floor, low ceiling minute muncher on a team that tried or was hoping to get younger. I think he was an absolute disaster for the Vancouver Canucks, to be honest with you, in terms of future development and what he contributed to the team this season. So, if Ratu can get a new coach this year who really believes in him, and by all reports, it's going to be Manny Malhotra. I hope it's Manny Malhotra. Manny Malhotra is more than familiar with Ratu's game. Ratu has played over 100 games in the AHL for Manny Malhotra. I think that he believes in him. I think that he can get the best out of him. He performed really, really well in the AHL regular seasons that he went down and played in. And on top of that, if this tournament can give him just a little bit more confidence around the net with his hands, because I thought whenever Ratu got into any sort of scoring opportunity, he got a little bit panicky, a little bit hot potato, a little bit get this puck off of my stick. If he can just get a little bit more comfortable in that situation, making an extra play, an extra pass, a skill play, which he's more than capable of doing, he could be not the answer because the Canucks aren't really looking for an answer to their bottom six question right now, but he's absolutely a solution in that role for the foreseeable future. He's 6'2". He's big enough that he can really log in the corners, in my opinion. He's quite strong on his skates. His foot speed is really his main detractor. He's not very fast whatsoever. But again, in those grit and grind kind of lines in the bottom six, I just see him as a great fit. He becomes a restricted free agent a year from now. If the Canucks can pick him up on a relatively cheap 3-year deal, I think they should try to do so because with the way he's developing and the way hopefully his confidence is progressing in this tournament, a new coach coming in that he's familiar with, I think Ratu could be one of the surprising Canucks who really, really takes a leap next season. Sticking with the World Championships, Canada remains undefeated after taking down Slovenia 3-1. I understand that Crosby and Celebrini and by virtue Cousins on their line are going to get all the headlines. That is the past, present, and future of Team Canada hockey in the Olympics, in the World Championships, in the World Cup of Hockey, wherever they're going to be competing. Celebrini is the guy who's going to carry it into the future, and Crosby is going to hold it down for really however long he wants because he has looked awesome this tournament and he's shown very few signs of aging in this tournament specifically. I thought he slowed down a bit in the playoffs, but that's besides the point. Those guys get the headlines, but Connor Brown, Fraser Mitten, and Porter Martone, I think were Canada's best line all night. They were just ferocious in the way that they attacked the puck and were incredibly smart in their own zone when they had to start in the defensive end. I really think that these three are trying, especially Martone, are really trying to prove to the powers that be that they have a role that they can play. They don't care what it does to their bodies or their well being. They will put everything on the line for that Maple Leaf sweater. And I have incredible respect for that. And they are playing like a bunch of rabid dogs out there. It has been a lot of fun to watch those three go at it. And also, it's been a lot of fun to watch Evan Bouchard play for really all the wrong reasons, but he is the most interesting man in the NHL to watch. It's the most bipolar hockey I've ever seen in my life. At 1 second, he's making plays on the blue line that I think only Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes could make, and Lane Hudson. That besides the point, it's a TikTok thing. But the next, he is making these turnovers that I haven't seen since I played Pee Wee house hockey and is giving up breakaways to these Slovenian forwards who haven't made money playing hockey in their entire lives. Add on to the fact that Morgan Riley is on the team and he has a lot of the same tendencies. It has been a roller coaster ride for me to watch this Canadian blue line. But it has been a lot of fun. Like I said, I think that second line for Canada should get a lot more recognition for what they've been able to do so far in this tournament. I fully expect Canada to at least make it to the semifinals, and we'll see where they go from there. Their next game of the preliminaries is against Slovakia tomorrow, which I fully expect them to win. And then they'll wrap up group play against the Czechs on Tuesday, and then they'll find their quarterfinal matchup from there. Feeling good about Team Canada. Their top two lines are the best two lines probably in the entire tournament. That Swiss first line has been unbelievable. They're in the conversation too. But in terms of top end talent, again, no one can really hold a candle to what Canada has. I fully expect them again to make the semifinals, and we'll see what happens from there. In other World Championship news, Team USA lost to Team Latvia this morning 4-2. Just a flatly devastating loss for this US Worlds team. Latvia is the team in their group that they are actively competing against for the last quarterfinal spot. And now Latvia, after beating them head to head, has a massive advantage to get that final spot over the United States. If they can hold surge and win their last two, which against Great Britain and Hungary coming up, I fully expect them to do. The USA will not make the quarterfinals. They won't make it out of group play in the World Hockey Championship. Listen, I understand that this is not the Olympics and it's a completely fluctuating tournament in terms of the talent you can bring in and the lines that you put out every night. It's no real, continuity between these best on best tournaments and the world championships. That's just how it goes. But when Matthew Tkachuk joined the team on Tuesday, after the USA got off to such a slow start, the vibe around USA that I could feel and was reading about was okay, this is where our tournament really starts. Now we've got our guy, we've got Mr. USA. He's really the two Kachucks become the face of USA hockey, but he didn't change the fact that the US just can't score. They're 14th out of 16 teams in this tournament in scoring efficiency. They outshot Latvia 47-22 this morning. And listen, Latvia's goalie, most respect to him. I'm fine, I'll try to pronounce his name. Kristers Guleskis saved 45 pucks, more power to him. But if you watch that game, not many of them were very high quality chances. It was a lot of what Buffalo was doing against Boston in the first round, just perimeter shots on goal, praying for a rebound to come out at the right spot. There weren't many extra passes, there weren't many cross creases, there weren't many clear shots from the slot. It really was a low quality 47 shots, as crazy as that is to say. Now, obviously, the USA played better than Latvia did. I'm not obnoxious to the fact that 9 times out of 10, they probably win that game. But this isn't something new for this Team USA Worlds team. they haven't been able to put the puck in the net, and it came back to bite them in the bum once again. This should not be all that surprising. At least it's not to me. They now drop to 2-3 in the tournament. Again, they're in real jeopardy of not making it to the quarterfinals when half of the teams in the tournament do. Just not enough scoring for the US. They don't play well enough on the power play. Their special teams have been anemic. This is an issue. Team USA might not make it to the quarterfinals. Moving on to the NHL playoffs, where last night the Knights went up 2-0 on the Avalanche. I would encourage you to go watch the instant reaction video that I did for that game yesterday if you want my full thoughts on the play-by-play of how that game went down. But I do have a new thought that I kind of want to run by you guys. And I can't stop thinking about it because there's really no comparison to it that I can come up with in this sports watching mind of mine who's been just obsessed with these games really since I was about 4 years old. Is Vegas the best franchise in the history of pro sports? Now, I want to make this very clear. And I've said this before in terms of who the GOAT debate is in basketball and different teams in the past. But greatest and best are two different things. Greatest takes into account your entire body of work. So, longevity, accomplishments, your history, all of that are huge factors in terms of who is the greatest franchise of all time. If you were to do that list, it would go somewhere like the Yankees, the Canadiens, the Celtics, the Lakers. You get what I mean. It is all about what you have accomplished, your trophy case, your history, playoff series won, all of that stuff. But if we go off of the very specific criteria of a modern day expansion team just being flatly amazing every single season from the word go, there is no comparison to what the Vegas Golden Knights have done in any sport. I might do a standalone video on this at some point in the future, but just in my light research this morning, they had easily the best first year of any modern North American sports franchise. They broke the NHL record for most wins by an expansion team and became the first expansion team to win their division. They made the Stanley Cup final in their first year of existence, beating the Sharks and the Jets on the way, who were by far the preseason favorites to come out of the West. That, yes, I understand they took advantage of a very advantageous entry draft strategy formula, whatever you want to call it. Getting Marc-Andre Fleury and James Neal right off the bat was pretty sweet, and a lot more than I'm sure they expected when they were granted a franchise, to be quite honest with you. But in that year, no one thought Jonathan Marchessault or Cody Eakin or Alex Tuck would be what they became with that team. They continue to just find diamonds in the rough year after year, and they've been doing it since their first day of existence. Where did Dorofeyev come from? This guy was a third round pick. Thomas Hertl looked injured and over the hill before being acquired by the Golden Knights. Cole Smith, who has been a real contributor to them this playoffs in the bottom six, he was undrafted. They keep resupplying their ability, or keep supplementing rather, their ability to attract superstars like Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, Mark Stone. These guys weren't drafted by Vegas, but they all want to go play there because they know the organization is awesome and they're going to be able to support them with these diamonds in the rough all over the place. And it's a formula that just seems freaking unstoppable. They have won their division in 6 out of the 9 years of their existence. They have made the playoffs in every year of their existence except one. And that year, they still won 43 games, missed the playoffs by only 3 points, but that was so unacceptable for the franchise. They immediately fired one of the best head coaches in the league at the time in Pete DeBoer, and then followed up that catastrophic failure by winning the Stanley Cup the next year. They have won a playoff series in 6 out of their 9 years of existence. There is no comparison for what the Vegas Golden Knights have done in their short term as a franchise. There's nothing like it. They're dirty as an organization. They bend the rules. They employ flatly disgusting people, in my opinion, but that's a whole other topic. And they don't care because they win all the time. And they don't know what failure is like, so they're like, might as well go with the formula that has brought us the most successful 9-year start to a sports franchise in maybe the history of the world. It's so frustrating how good they are and how consistently good they are. It's just speaking as a Vancouver Canucks guy. The Vancouver Canucks have been around since 1970. You could argue that if you put up resume to resume of accomplishments, that Vegas has accomplished more in 9 years than the Vancouver Canucks have done in 50 plus. That is heartbreaking. And there are so many other franchises who can relate to that, which is why, on top of, again, their dirty business practices and the fact that they sign anybody and the fact that they just say no to the media whenever they feel like it, apparently, and fire head coaches 6 days left in the season and don't let them talk to other teams and countless other things that I just don't agree with. They are the Goliath, the villain, the Joker of the NHL, who everybody is trying to conquer. And flatly, that's great for the league. Everybody needs a villain for a great story. And we just need to find the Batman to take him down. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be the Avalanche this year. If it's Montreal Vegas in the Stanley Cup final, that is the definition of a David versus Goliath storyline that really any media member could grasp onto and become a part of. And that would be really good for the league. I don't think Vegas's day-to-day operations are good for the league or the health of the media or, again, just from a PR standpoint. I think it's flatly, again, what's the word I want to use? I want to be careful when describing, I said they employ gross people and I stand by that. Their business practices on a day-to-day basis are, I'll just use the word shady to be politically correct. But again, if the Habs are able to play them in the finals with Cole Caulfield and this organically grown rebuild that they've executed, this Canadian team coming out of nowhere, this fun, fast, exciting young squad against the juggernaut Golden Knights, that is an awesome Stanley Cup final, and I hope it happens. Also, side take on this series, the way Bednar has been talking about Kale's injury is weird. I understand that it's with a shoulder injury, it's usually a point of pain tolerance and when a guy really feels comfortable about coming back. But Bednar is flatly giving up the impression that Makar is cleared. The doctors say he can go, but he's just not able to play through it in terms of his toughness. The exact quote was, "It's going to be Kale's decision if he's coming back. I can't make that decision for him." Even if that's true, man, just leave it at, excuse me, Cale Makar is doing everything he can to get back. He will be back in the lineup as soon as he is physically able. Even if that's not true, that's just what you say. Don't give the media any tidbits to play around with. It's just not smart. Anyways, Montreal versus Carolina, game 2 is tonight. I've never seen a team look more rusty than Carolina did in game 1 of this series. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. The first and most obvious is that they had the most rest a team could possibly have at this point in the playoffs. They had back-to-back sweeps, and the team that they're playing against in the conference finals went 7 games in both of their series. It's just an unbelievable coincidence, and turned out to be really unfortunate for the Hurricanes because Montreal got on them fast and they weren't able to recover. And the other reason why it looked like the most rusty team I've ever seen is Carolina is more affected by rust than probably any other team in the NHL because they play like a machine. They're very by the book, robotic like shutdown systems are amazing, but they require full synchronicity through the entire lineup to be effective. It requires everybody being on the same page, knowing where each other is going to be to play that shutdown kind of style that won't let you breathe in the offensive zone, which has resulted in back to back sweeps for the team. When you're not playing with your teammates for weeks on end, that chemistry can be pretty difficult to rekindle. And multiple Carolina players said it felt like this was another training camp. You're in the conference finals. This should be the opposite of training camp. This is what training camp is for. But it's not their fault that they have to ramp back up because they don't have any games scheduled. So Montreal took advantage. Good for them. It started in the first minute. They just walloped Carolina in the goal scoring department. Walloped is too strong. They got on him quick and were able to hold on to that lead. I'm fully expecting Carolina to get back on the horse tonight and start that suffocation again with some added desperation of them not wanting to drop 2 games at home. That is a huge motivating factor. We saw it with McKinnon yesterday. He played his ass off because he knew you don't want to drop both games at home and go to in his case, Vegas, in their case, Montreal down 0-2. I think Carolina takes it tonight, 1-1 series going back to Montreal. NBA. Goodness gracious. These NBA playoffs, man, and specifically this OKC Spurs series is maybe the best basketball I've ever seen in my life. These two teams are unbelievable. Young, athletic, physical, snipers, led by the two best players in the world, genuine dislike for one another. It's just everything you could want in a basketball series so far. And OKC is up 2-1 in it thanks to coming back from a 15-0 deficit to start the game. I was like, man, are the Thunder going to get shut out? I don't think they are, but they didn't. 15-0. They started the game, come all the way back to take a 2-1 series lead over the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. It's so crazy how quickly narratives can shift game to game, especially in the NBA, right? Like after game 1, people were wondering if OKC should trade a starting 5 of prospects plus some picks to Milwaukee so that they can acquire Giannis just so they could have a chance to guard Wemby. That was a legitimate narrative that was out there after game 1, and Wemby had maybe the greatest playoff game I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. Get Giannis. He is the only counter to Wemby for the foreseeable future. This guy runs the league. OKC has no chance. Now, after their bench scores 76 points in game 3 last night, the most in a conference finals game since 1971, people are right back on the Thunder's depth and waves of defensive guards as the way to build moving forward. Again, this all switched within 3 days. In terms of the Thunder's depth, man, Caruso has been flatly otherworldly, especially from the three-point line, but just in general. The fact that he can legit give Wembanyama a difficult time on offense at 6'5", he is a foot shorter than him, is unbelievable. He is so strong and he's committed so much time to the weight room. Because if you remember, when he was in LA, he kind of had the Austin Reeves body going on, not an ounce of muscle definition on that guy. He worked his ass off to become flatly ripped. And the fact that he has such a low center of gravity compared to Wembanyama allows him to bump with him and not allow Wembanyama to get his base set for a jump shot. And he's been really, really effective at it. And again, from the three-point line, he has the most three-pointers made per game in a conference finals since Steph Curry in 2019, currently. He's shooting the lights out of the ball. He is OKC's leader in three-point percentage on a team that has been defined by their incredible three-point percentage so far. Not defined by, I take that back, but they have been shooting the three incredibly well, and Caruso has been the leader of that. Jalen Williams has been another huge contributor to that. He has become the perfect stretch five for this team when Chet is off the floor. Jared McCain has looked like the best shooter in the world. I know Caruso has a better percentage than he does, but every time Jared McCain takes a three, I'm oh well, that's going in. He really does fit into OKC's culture perfectly as well. Just a complete cornball, but it works for them. And who am I to tell the reigning champion looking like they're going to be back-to-back champions how to act? Because it just works. All three of those guys I mentioned, Williams, Caruso, and McCain, are top 23, sorry, top 25 in three-point percentage in the playoffs via players who have taken at least 2 attempts per game. I really try to not be too prisoner of the moment in general in my sports takes, to be honest with you. I feel like if I have any kind of platform, I kind of need to take a more generalized look and not be, clickbaity or spur of the moment reaction. I try to, really think ahead. But in this series, it's especially important to do so because this really feels like it's going to be the conference finals for the next 10 or so years. And with that in mind, I do think the Spurs are better positioned in the long term than the Thunder are. I think it's obvious at this point that Wemby is going to be better than Shea long term. He is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. He's indescribable. He is the most physically daunting athlete I've ever seen. Period. End of story. He is a 7'5" man whose biggest shot in the playoffs so far was a 30-foot three. I don't know what you do about that. There is no comparison to him. He is going to be better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at basketball. I'm sorry, he just is. Right now, he's not, but yeah, right now he is. He's better. Anyways, doesn't matter. He's going to be the better player long term, just as we're thinking in that context. And then as far as the supporting cast goes, I would rather have Castle and Harper moving forward than Chet and J-Dub. And I said as soon as OKC gave the max to Jalen Williams after that finals performance where he dropped 40 in one of the games and just looked unbelievable, I questioned it big time. That is a lot of money to tie up in one player when you already have like 6 guys on the roster who can give you 75% of what Jalen Williams is as a basketball player. AJ Mitchell is more than capable of being a secondary ball handler. Kenrich Williams has potential, but he just doesn't get minutes on this team because they're so deep. Jared McCain can handle the ball a bit. And then Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, they all guard the same positions that Jalen Williams does. And I understand he does it both ways and he's a better scorer than any of those guys. Totally get it. But the max for that guy when you have just an abundance of depth and talent in the same position, I just didn't think it was all that long-term smart, especially when you consider they have all the draft picks in the world over the next 3 years. With the way that Sam Presti drafts, you don't think they can find another player like Jalen Williams in the coming 3 years? Of course they can. I thought it was short-sighted thinking provoked by a 40-point finals game, which was awesome, but we got to think long term here. And I think the Spurs books are far more free than the Thunders is going forward. And again, I like their complementary stars a bit better long term. If we're going micro, though, as far as this exact series goes, May 23rd, 2026, basketball, Thunder versus Spurs, I think that the Thunder win, and I would be surprised if it goes more than 6 games. At this point, Shea is a more consistent offensive engine than Wemby. That's why I was kind of stuttering and, earlier. He's a better offensive engine. He can create better shots more consistently. He's really made a point to make quick passes out of double teams, which he struggled with last season. He's made it a strength of his. And I think that the Spurs actually need to stop double teaming him and just say, you know what, Shea, if you drop 70 points, awesome, but these guys around you aren't getting anything. I think that would be the more appropriate strategy moving forward for the Spurs because Shai has been so efficient at creating shots out of double teams. And Wemby himself has said that he's disappointed in his lack of ability to make his teammates better throughout the series. Now, Wemby's still been ridiculous. The Spurs are still winning all of the Wemby minutes. They were +4 in his minutes yesterday. They're +21 with him on the floor in this series. But the non-Wemby minutes, they're just getting crushed by, again, OKC's bench and depth. And OKC just has more playoff experience with how refs call games, what you can get away with at this point in the playoffs. I think the Thunder take it home in 6 games, but it has been a incredibly fun series to watch so far, and I expect this to be the Western Conference Finals matchup or the second round matchup, depending on how the bracket falls, for the next decade plus. Cavs Knicks game 3 is tonight. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game because I really think that this series ended with that game 1 collapse. The Knicks just took their souls in that run at the end of the game. If that three-pointer went in that Mike Breen faked a bang on, pause. But if that three went in for the Cavs, I actually think that this would go to 7 games. Now I think the Knicks sweep them, if not win in 5. You just don't come back from a collapse that historical and that horrific and beat a Knicks team that has looked like the best team in the NBA over these entire playoffs. And with the Knicks right now, the position they're in up 2-0, if the Spurs and the Thunder continue to just beat the hell out of each other, again, AJ Mitchell got nicked up, Jalen Williams got nicked up. The Knicks have a real chance to take home this championship. I don't think they're not nearly. I don't think they're as good as OKC or the Spurs. If you were to just do head to head, 3 days of rest, square up and go. But if the Spurs and the Thunder go to 6 or 7 games and the Knicks are at home resting for 5 days, or when does the final start? I think it's June 1st or something like that. 5, 6 days. The Knicks are going to be so much more fresh and ready to go in that series. And the playoffs have really come down to a war of attrition the last couple of years. And the Knicks are a better position to win that war. It's going to be an interesting game to watch tonight, but I think the Knicks win in 4 or 5. Now, I want to finish this with the Jaxson Dart thing. Now, on this show, it is called the Spit Sports Show. I avoid politics like the plague. So this is not going to be about politics. If you want political opinions, go anywhere else. Politics is the ultimate divider. Sports is the ultimate uniter. I'd rather be on the side of uniting. So this is about football, pure and simple. This is about the NFL and his relationship to the New York Giants. The quarterback of an NFL team has certain responsibilities to his franchise in terms of leadership and being the face of said franchise that other positions simply don't have. That is big part of the reason why they are paid heaps more than any other position. Part of that responsibility is having the awareness of the fact that your actions will have ramifications that go far deeper than if a safety or a middle linebacker or a kicker did the exact same thing. For Jaxson Dart, who has done nothing in the NFL, he has no cachet, no body of work to fall back on, no years of work in the community. For him to open up for the lowest approved president in 17 years minimum, according to approval rating, for him to start that guy's rally and be there and support and endorse is flatly stupid. Regardless of what your thoughts are on Donald Trump, that is dumb. This isn't Lamar Jackson tweeting about Charlie Kirk or some Josh Allen high school tweets. Those are spur of the moment, silly choices. We've all texted someone or tweeted someone or something, I should say, that we regret. Made a phone call or a comment that we'd want to take back immediately. This took a full process of him being asked, accepting, planning the date, getting schedules cleared, rehearsing and creating a speech. This was not a spur of the moment thing. This was just a decision that is going and already has had repercussions throughout the NFL and his own locker room. He either knew full well he either knew full well the consequences of what he was doing and did it anyways, or he is completely shocked by the outrage that's going on online right now. Either way, it's a terrible look. If you didn't know that this was going to be coming, man, just get with the times. Like, we're in a certain political climate here. And if he knew that this was going to get a rise out of people, how the hell can you back your franchise quarterback doing this? I have been a huge critic of Aaron Rodgers and him putting himself over the team. This isn't that necessarily, but it's absolutely a terrible look for the face of the franchise to be doing something that is so divisive. And clearly Abdul Carter was not impressed. And I don't think he was the only one in that locker room who probably feels that way. And as, again, a franchise, hopefully NFL quarterback, leader of the locker room, soon to be highest paid guy on the team, you just can't be setting an example like that. All eyes are on you, man. All of them. You represent the New York Football Giants. And if it seems like I'm making this too big of a deal, again, it's not me, it's Abdul Carter. It's his Giants teammates. It's these responses by people who know him who are like, "What the hell are you doing, man? You have so much more to be concerned about than some rally." It drives me nuts, and it is a microcosm of why I don't believe in Jaxson Dart as a long-term franchise quarterback. I think he is reckless and uncalculating. And I think you need to be both to be a great quarterback in the NFL. Flatly. I think with what he's done with his concussions, just, this is the way I play. I go head first everywhere. Yeah, good luck with that, man. See how that works out for you. See how it worked out for Cam Newton and a bunch of these other guys. Yeah, get me out of the tent. Like, it's just, he's reckless and uncalculating. And this is a microcosm of that, and I think it was really, really silly. Again, no opinions on Trump as a president or anything like that. Just his actions towards the football team. Dumb. Thank you all so much for giving some time to the program. I want to know, what do you guys think is going to shape out tonight in the NHL playoffs between the Habs and the Hurricanes? Give me some thoughts on the Avs and the Golden Knights. Give me some thoughts on the NBA. Anything you want. I love talking and discussing sports, and I am small enough as to where I can do that in the comments section below with all of you. So drop something down there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed what you heard. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed it. The Spit Sports Show just hit over 440 subscribers. Big things happening on this channel. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. I love you guys.